Have you ever thought about the human behavior of leadership actually evolved? Why did we establish this behavior of leading others? Why do we follow? Because for every leader, you need to have a follower. Leadership books, courses, seminars, coaches. Have you ever seen a followership coach? If you lead, it's good. We look up to leaders, but do we look up to followers? And when should followers become the leader? And when should leaders become followers? So why is this all important? Well, stay with me and we'll make a big leap to today's leadership selection process in corporations. Welcome everyone to episode 7 of The Mammoth in the Room. My name is Nicolas Bocconi, CEO of Mammoth Leadership Science. You might have noticed over the last episodes that we tried to put some sequence into our approach, talking about business leadership, which is in fact the leadership of the people who do the business. We started with some basic evolutionary facts, some basics about human behavior on individual level and on group level. We talked about its positive power when this very behavior develops towards a great corporate culture which sustains long-term business success, and also about the damage it can cause when it goes haywire. For instance, when the group members don't know why they are in the game. That was in the first 3 episodes. From that, we embarked a bit on a journey a lot of us are going through in our careers. When we get our first team leader responsibility, or when we inherit a team of someone who moves on. In essence, when you're the new leader, the new kid on the block. We talked about how to start this relationship, build on the trust you will be given at the beginning, and how important it is to start working from inside out. Basically, starting with the group members and help them to align their own personal goals, ambitions, etc. with the wider company goals. In episodes 4 to 6, we were a bit more transactional, mainly for 2 reasons. 1, to make it useful immediately, and 2, to not overload the theory and the science. So I hope you enjoyed this sequence and took something away from it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and give me some reviews, either on YouTube or wherever you get your audio podcast from. Some likes. I like likes, but not likes with feedback, because I'm still very much on the learning curve and feedback is important. Also, don't be shy and send me a message on my webpage that you would like to come onto the show in case you want to share some of your views, experiences. Why not? I want to keep that kind of sequence, and we are now going to mix it up again. And episode 7 will again be a bit more scientific. It's also a little bit longer because of the usual story approach we take on to make things more entertaining, more sticky. It's also a good moment for that as well, as it will serve us as a nice segue into the following few episodes, which will be about how we should analyze any new business endeavor we are embarking on in a new leadership situation. So it will give us important knowledge, concepts to reflect upon for this very analysis, which will trigger your first business decisions. I want to start this with a question. Have you ever thought about why leadership, the human behavior of leadership, actually evolved? When we talked about evolutionary principles in the first 3 episodes, we established that everything humans or any other species do is behavior. And that consists of the interactions and interrelationships between genetics and the environment. Like recipe and ingredients in a cake. You remember the cake we drew. So in short, every behavior which establishes will be tested throughout evolution and needs to stand the test of time. And if it is not beneficial for reproductive success, it won't last. Why did we establish this behavior of leading others? And there is something else. Why do we follow? Because for every leader, you need to have a follower, right? That's something we rarely talk about. We write and hear a lot about leadership, but rarely we talk about the behavior, in our case, the human behavior of followership. Because that's also needed. We have leadership books, courses, seminars, coaches. Even this podcast is about leadership. Have you ever seen a followership coach? But here's the thing. If you or I want to lead a group of sales reps, but they don't follow, we have a problem. The answer is not that it only depends on the actions of the leader if someone follows or not, as we are telling ourselves so often, which is absolute BS. And it's also a bit like, if you lead, it's good. We look up to leaders. But do we look up to followers? There's a bit of a negative connotation of following versus the always positive connotation of leading. And when should followers become the leader? And when should leaders become followers, even in hierarchical systems like a corporation? It's not like someone woke up one day and said, I now establish the behavior of leadership and followership, and I now build a company and I will lead and pay you the money and you will follow. That's not how it really worked. Let's unpack this a bit. Promise you it's worth it, sticking to the end, because in order to identify this situation, when someone who normally leads an organization is better off in following, and vice versa, to at the end ensure better overall leadership, it's critical to know what we talk about today and reflect upon it. So let's dig in. If you look yourself in the mirror, what do you see? I can tell you what I see. I see a representative of a species which is incredibly weak, incredibly slow, incredibly unprotected, and incredibly unarmored. Even an ant outlifts me. Every chipmunk outruns me, every beetle outprotects me, and every one of my freaking dogs or cats can bite me, scratch me. And what can I do? Bite back? Scratch back? With what? I'm in front of the mirror asking myself, why am I still here? Well, the answer can be found in this behavior of leadership and followership. Leadership and followership evolved in humans and in other species to solve recurrent coordination problems. Because the thing is this, leadership can be defined as coordination of two or more individuals to accomplish a joint goal. What was the goal for us and the problem to be solved for us humans? Movement. Why movement? Well, because over the millions of years of evolution, as hominins, we lived in certain areas for some time, and when the resources of this area were depleted or changed based on seasonal occurrences, we had to move. And then the question becomes, do I move alone or in a group? Answer is, social species like us stay alive by moving together. Why together? Well, because as weak as I am, as I just found out looking at myself in the mirror, I need to partner up with other weaklings to even stand a chance. There is safety in numbers. So now we know that we need to move to survive and to do it together. Hence, the classic coordination problem that gave rise to the emergence of leadership is group movement. But then, when do you move? Where? Who moves first and who follows? These questions can be solved by some individuals seizing the initiative to lead and others to follow. So let's get this a bit in a story fashion to make it stick. Imagine a situation where a group of humans came up to a river and they needed to cross that river. Who from us would seize the opportunity to lead? Probably somebody who might have encountered that situation already once or a few times. Somebody, for instance, who knows how to build a boat. That somebody would speak up and say something along the lines of, guys, I got this, we need a boat. And I can tell you which trees we need and how to build it. Trust me. Somebody in the group would say, yeah, I saw the guy once building a boat and it really worked. So the rest of us would follow the guy who says he knows or she knows how to build a boat. Very likely that a guy like me, who never built a boat, would not seize the opportunity to lead because I have not the first clue about this. I'm a farmer, guys. What the heck do I know about boats? And I would happily follow. See, in humankind's earliest days, leadership was probably super straightforward. The strongest person of a group became the leader. Not very sophisticated. But as humankind survived, thrived, and co-created, group dynamics became more complex. There were more groups, more people in each group, and groups in charge of other groups. Humans began to specialize and were asked to lead when their unique skills were required. If houses or ships needed to be built, those who knew how to build them took the lead. The same was true for agriculture, war, and most other activities. Those with the required skills led the way. So to our example before, I would happily follow the boat builder. But, so as long as the ship doesn't sink. Once we reach the other side of the river and we would need to look out for some fertile soil, I might seize the opportunity to lead because the shipbuilder would say, look guys, here my leadership expertise ends. I lived at the sea my whole life. So don't look at me for farming. What the heck do I know about fertile soils? I'm out of here. You get the concept, right? It was wise to follow the warlord into war and let him or her choose the weapons. It was smart to let the shipbuilder select the best trees to use to build the boats. The farmer with the most successful crops was naturally the go-to person during planting season. When these skilled individuals told us what to do, seized the leadership position because they knew exactly what to do, we followed their recommendations. Extrapolating from anthropological evidence of past and present hunter-gatherer societies, we have a good understanding of this type of task-related leadership. It's a bottom-up approach that fosters universally positive leadership characteristics. We also reference in the research notes. What are they? Integrity, persistence, humility, competence, decisiveness, and vision. Now, let's unpack it a little bit and let's talk a little bit what that actually means. Integrity, I say what I do what I say, watch me, I prove it to you. Persistence, let's hang in there. The trees we need are difficult to find, but we get it done, and we get it done. Humility, help me, I can't do it alone. The trees are too heavy. Competence, don't take this tree. See, it's rotten on the inside. But what about this one? Over there. Decisiveness. Guys, we need to move. The weather is coming in. Let's do it quickly. Doesn't have to be perfect. The river is not that wide. Vision. We're not building this ship to cross the river, guys. We're building it to reach more fertile ground so we can raise our families. And here is another thing. We didn't run through a long-lasting interview process. We didn't have to, because in such an environment, it was easy to check a leader's performance immediately, even without dashboards. Not even summary dashboards to interpret the dashboards. Because success or failure was imminent, was straightforward. People were promoted based on their mastery of specific skills. If a ship sank, once put to water, the shipbuilder was out. If the crops failed, the farmer was probably replaced. If the warlord lost, he or she probably did not lead the next battle. Simple, right? And over hundreds of thousands of years of evolution, we learned that the benefit to follow and believe someone who wholeheartedly and passionately and loudly and with super big confidence said, I can do that, I got this, completely outweighed the risk of not spending time to figure out if the person really knew what to do. Maybe let 3 people build a dummy boat and then decide who should build the real boat? Why would you do that? No one else would pretend or try to seize leadership because the KPI check was imminent and the pretender would be out in the blink of an eye. No risk. So, the biggest risk over millions of years of evolution of us hominins until the time we were only one species, Homo sapiens, we can up like 250, 300,000 years-ish ago, depending on the source, and of course carry our million years of hominins evolutionary package, was not to follow the guy who knew, who could most confidently and competently say, I can do this, and who needed to prove him herself immediately. And instead maybe try by yourself, me, the farmer, building a boat. So why is this all important? Well, stay with me and we'll make a big leap to today's leadership selection process in corporations. A person gets selected by a few senior leaders because they want him or her in a particular position for a specific assignment for a few years. Now, research suggests that what gets us the job is still this confidence, maybe overconfidence, passion, this I can do this, like in former times. We still select leaders based on that. So the more confident you are in an interview process, the more inflating you are about yourself, the more you train to be a good interviewee, the better the chance to get the job. That's an industry. How to perform a perfect interview. Be confident, be passionate, be visionary, come across as competent, basically show off. Have you looked at my LinkedIn profile? It's been rated at some point as one of the top 5% quality-wise, not by me, by LinkedIn. According to this very profile, I have only done good things. I never made any mistake. I'm perfect. And I get contacted. But the same research shows that these same traits that might have landed us the job, overconfidence or an inflated sense or self, actually sets this person up for failure when we find them ourselves completely out of our depth and don't admit it to ourselves and anyone else. The traits and skills that got us the promotion don't translate into effective leadership. And yet, we still follow these new leaders. Why? Because our brains tell us, based on the evolutionary heritage we are carrying, that this leader has led something successfully in the past. So they will be able to lead us successfully again, even though the new role is completely different. I have a full chapter about this in my book coming out, and the chapter is called From Task Leadership to Corporate Graveyard. The shipbuilder leads the agricultural department. The CEO of the largest telecommunication company becomes CEO of a pharmaceutical empire. Does that mean it doesn't work? No. But what it means is that we need to be aware of this fact, that although we have been appointed based on an interview process where we did well, we still don't know everything. We are not the experts in everything. We don't have to. In fact, in these gaps where we know the experts in, we need to follow. I give you an example. In one of my career switches, I went from leading a neuroscience department to leading a way bigger department. If I recall correctly, around 10 times bigger, 10 times more people. And not only that, it was a role in a completely different therapeutic area I had never worked in until that time. From neuroscience, where my background is, to cardiology, pulmonology, gastroenterology. I didn't know the science, I didn't have the networks, I was completely out of my depth. I can tell you, I started this leadership role in following until I was at the point where I started to understand things. If I would have gone in and said, look guys, I'm the leader, I know how it's done because we would have not achieved the success we ultimately achieved together as a team. You ask me, did I always get it right? No, of course not. There were also situations in my career where from my today's perspective, I was too convinced I know because I was a leader. When I actually should have had that concept about leadership means also followership much more in mind. I should have listened better, longer, reflected more. I know that now. The question is, do you know? And by the way, for all these BS AI algorithms, what you will not find in my LinkedIn profile, which was, as I just said, rated as top 5%, what you will not find is a comment that I'm a good follower. Because if I did that, I might be honest, but I would not get contacted anymore. However, what you will find though when you talk to people I was working in teams together with, that some, maybe many of them, will tell you that I'm very reflective on when I should lead and when I should follow, to what extent I should do both, and that I listen. Not all of them, as I said, but hey, who is perfect? Certainly I'm not. But I learned my lessons over time. So who are you? Are you the leader who comes in, looks around, tries to understand where to lead or to follow, and how long, and who through the accurate, situational, reflective, and conscious decision to express your own leadership and followership behavior is therefore able to create a better leadership experience for your people, your company, which will create a sense of we are in this together, which will ultimately lead to better business results for all the reasons we discussed. Are you that person? Or are you that person who comes in and says, I'm the leader, I'm in the know, I tell you how it works because, you know how I call this? Management by biz, because I say so. And then maybe have to roll back afterwards and somehow justify your early actions without admitting you were wrong because you really were, when the most likely to succeed didn't. I was on both sides. The first one is easier to handle. What we take away is, know this: leadership needs followership. Leadership behavior and followership behavior go hand in hand. A great leader is also a great follower. All right, that was it for today. And next time we go back into the question how we transactionally get this on the ground. We'll start analyzing our new business endeavor. This was episode 7 of The Mammoth in the Room. I hope you enjoyed it, took something away from it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and give me some reviews and maybe likes if you like it, either on YouTube or wherever you get your audio podcast from. If you're interested in more, there's my book coming out in October. It has the same title as this podcast, The Mammoth in the Room, and it's offering a practical roadmap how great leaders and their teams embrace evolutionary truth for outstanding business results. And it does this in 3 sections: on people, on strategy, and on implementation. And if you leave us your email, we can put you onto a non-binding pre-order list. And if you would like to get the book for the e-version, we charge only $2.99 in the way up to the book launch. Thank you very much. Nicholas Bocconi.